Good, happy Friday morning, February 4th, 2022. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Friday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday morning, so let's get started right now. First up, road crews asking drivers to stay home if possible during storm. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Here we go again, only this time the bulk of the snow will fall in the northern parts of the state. This is the scene tonight in downtown Hanover with flakes blanketing Dartmouth College. It's only been days since the last one, but plow drivers have to be ready for more long hours.
It's reasonable for someone to work 16 hours, have 8 hours off, and then work another 16 hours, and then be in a sidewalk plow, and then they get to go home and shovel their own driveway. So, tough work.
Concord will have a full crew heading out at 4 a.m., 23 pieces of equipment handling 220 miles of roads in the city.
I kind of draw a parallel to a athletic team getting ready for a big game. They know it's their time to shine, so to speak. They understand that the community is relying upon their work.
Statewide, the Department of Transportation has a plan that will look different depending on the area. Snow, rain, and sleet will make for a difficult morning commute.
I think anytime you have mixed precipitation with snow and rain, we know that the temperatures are supposed to dip down below freezing again. That can create the worst travel condition, which is ice.
It'll be a long day of cleanup, but crews say they'll be ready.
This is what we do. Winters are winters in New Hampshire, and we step up and rise to the challenge.
Most importantly here, officials emphasizing if you can stay home during the storm, do so. It'll only make their jobs easier. Reporting live in New London tonight, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Office of Child Advocate says reviews can be triggered for several reasons. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
An internal DCYF investigation, like the one that is currently happening in the case of Harmony Montgomery, is not unusual, according to Moira O'Neill, head of the Office of the Child Advocate. They're actually known as critical incident reviews.
So it may be the death of a child, it may be a missing child, it may be a child who's been absconded, it may be a parent death, or a serious injury, and there's also one that's called a media event.
A briefing obtained by News 9 Investigates shows that a critical incident review looks into DCYF's immediate response to determine the subject child, if alive, is safe, siblings and family are safe, and resources have been activated and immediate needs are understood and met. O'Neill says she understands whenever there is a high-profile case such as Harmony's, there's a public need for information.
Now, obviously, we're all going to have an emotional response to a beautiful small child who's missing for 2 years. It's incomprehensible.
But she adds strict federal and state laws prevent the release of specific details to not only protect the child, but also the integrity of the police investigation.
When it's time and the police investigation is completed, if we find information that we think that the public would be in their interest to know, we'll certainly share that information.
And tonight, no new updates from Manchester police on the search for little Harmony, but they tell us her case remains their top priority. Reporting live in Manchester, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Man charged after report of shots fired in Manchester. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Right now in Manchester, police have arrested this man, 25-year-old Jason Bork, in connection with yesterday's shooting on Amory Street. No injuries were reported and no damage was found. He's charged with reckless conduct and falsifying evidence for allegedly disposing of the gun and a jacket.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Keene Fire Chief says backlog of code violation is being resolved. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Peacock's got Harry Potter. All 8 movies streaming now. Brilliant.
Well, Monica, back in January, the Firefighters Union in Keene sounded the alarm on a major backlog of fire code violations in the city. Now, that backlog was discovered as the department switched over to a new computer software. Just a few weeks ago, there were more than 1,000 open violations in the city. Most of those were not serious. There were things like exit signs not being illuminated and fire extinguishers not being inspected yearly. Now, Fire Chief Mark Howard tells us his crew is in the process of going to each location and manually checking each of those violations. He says his crews have already resolved nearly half and says many of those violations were things that were already fixed but were never recorded.
There's like 2 or 3 different issues that I have identified so far. One of them is either we just physically didn't get back to that location. That's a problem within our process. We need to fix that. Second is we may have got there but didn't make the data entry for whatever reason. We need to fix that.
And Chief Howard says he has a team of 2 to 4 inspectors working to relieve that backlog every day. He expects them to resolve the backlog in roughly 1 month and says the department's new technologies will make it easier to log data. Live in the newsroom, Scott Cook, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire House Committee unanimously reject bill to audit 2020 election results. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
State lawmakers are taking quick action on the bill to conduct a statewide audit of the 2020 election results. And today, in a unanimous bipartisan vote, the House Election Law Committee sent House Bill 1484 to the House floor with a recommendation of an expedient to legislate. HB 1484 would have the state hire an independent third party to conduct a full statewide forensic audit of ballots cast in the 2020 election with a multi-million-dollar cost covered by private donations. The committee just heard public testimony on this bill yesterday. Several Republican reps voicing their support.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Results of at-home test no longer need to be reported to the state. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
What we're seeing with the Omicron surge is the need to shift the balance of how we monitor the pandemic and respond to the pandemic.
For almost 2 years, COVID-19 has been described in terms of cases, outbreaks, and clusters. But with the entire state and country now in outbreak status by definition, the state epidemiologist announcing some changes in the need to track specific case data.
People who test positive for COVID-19 at home using an at-home test or a self-test don't need to report that to public health.
And schools will now move to a weekly aggregate report instead of updating every day. Dr. Chan says getting the data is labor-intensive, and having it won't change precautions already in place. But the state will still get results from labs and watch for trends.
We expect COVID-19 to continue to spread and continue to circulate. But what we hope and expect, and what we believe we're seeing now, is that as population immunity increases, disease severity will decrease.
The important metrics, hospitalizations and deaths, both still high, confirming ongoing risk, but trending down this last week.
I think there is some evidence that community transmission may be decreasing the severity of disease, with the Omicron surge is decreasing, and I think this is hopeful news.
He does emphasize, though, that the surge is still going on, and at this point in the pandemic, we still need to take precautions, and that includes vaccinations and boosters. Reporting live, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Find the hotel. Vacation.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire Senate Republicans approve amendment to ease pre-abortion ultrasounds mandate. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
State Senate Republicans are backing a change to the new abortion laws that took effect at the beginning of this year, clarifying the ultrasound mandate that some doctors said would require a medically unnecessary and invasive transvaginal procedure prior to even the earliest first trimester abortions.
We listened, we heard their voices, and the amendment reflects what they've asked. With this amendment, it is now between the physician. The doctor is the one who gets to make the decision about whether or not to do an ultrasound.
Democrats say the easing of the mandate is not enough. They still want to repeal the 24-week abortion ban, and they slammed the unwillingness of Republicans to allow exceptions to the ban in cases of rape, incest, health of the mother, or a fatal fetal anomaly.
And I guess now what this, if it passes, would say, well, yes, you'll get an ultrasound that shows that indeed your fetus is dead, but you will continue to carry that fetus anyways.
I appreciate the woman's position. I also appreciate a viable baby being aborted between months 7, 8, and 9.
The state Senate also voted today to sideline a bill that would have codified Roe v. Wade and access to abortion care in state law. Pro-choice senators believe that even with the changes made today, the new abortion restrictions will accelerate the loss of obstetric care in New Hampshire.
Why would you want to work in a state that second guesses your medical judgment, a legislature that second guesses your medical judgment and would prosecute you for caring for a woman at this most critical time?
In Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that is a look at your news for today. Now we're going to switch gears and let's go into weather now. And weather right now is rain/freezing rain. And it is 32 degrees and feels like 24 degrees out there. Mixed precipitation likely to continue for the next several hours. With a full weather forecast, let's go to meteorologist Mike Haddad.
As one of the region's largest family-owned energy providers, Eastern Propane and Oil knows a thing or two about...
Thank you very much for joining us, Stormwatch 9 Weather on the Web. Here we go into a major winter storm from now right through tomorrow afternoon. Very high storm impacts for heavy snow north, sleet and freezing rain central and south, eventually going over to snow by Friday morning, and very difficult travel at any point from now through Friday in the northern part of the state, and by early Friday morning through the afternoon anywhere in New Hampshire. Gusty winds, coastal flooding, not a concern with this storm. For tonight, keep in mind we are well above freezing through the evening, anywhere from Concord south, but by daybreak, we're down near 30 or below. That means any rain that does fall, damp spots on the roads are going to freeze over during the Friday morning commute, while to the north, all levels of the atmosphere are cold enough for snow. And you can see this train of moisture extends all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, slowly builds up here. The back edge of the heavy stuff approaches during Friday afternoon. So here's our timeline. For tonight, it's all snow, White Mountains points north, and all rain farther south. During the overnight, it begins to cool down just enough so we start to see pockets of 32-degree temperatures, and that means a transition from rain over to freezing rain and maybe even a little bit of sleet north of Concord into the Lakes region. The Lakes region, lower parts of the Upper Valley, snow or sleet will be falling during the early part of Friday morning, with rain and a few pockets of freezing rain farther south. Then, for the rest of the Friday morning commute through midday, it's all snow, northern Lakes region points north, freezing rain changing over to sleet south. In that narrow band, will it be snow or sleet from just north of Concord to Laconia? That's still a bit in question between now and tomorrow morning. By Friday afternoon, any icy mix south may end as a coating to a half-inch of snow, while more snow showers fly in northern New Hampshire. Because it will be all snow in the northern part of the state, 6 to 12 inches from the Canadian border to the northern lakes region, but anywhere from the northern Whites Points north, 10 to 18 inches likely. Farther south, Concord down to Manchester, Nashua, Jaffrey, over to the coast, about an inch or two of sleet after some freezing rain with maybe a tenth or 2/10 of an inch of ice accumulating. Then the sleet on top of that, then maybe a coating to an inch of wet snow as the storm wraps up. The trickiest zone is anywhere from just north of Concord to the Southern Lakes region. Will this be more sleet or more snow? Of course, if the changeover is a little bit earlier, then we're talking about 6, 7, 8 inches of snow. Otherwise, just an inch or two of sleet with a coating to an inch of snow. Once the storm pulls away, it's bright and chilly for the weekend, and then temperatures head a bit higher under mostly storm-free conditions from Monday through Thursday.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast from meteorologist Mike Haddad. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.